Hello, my name is Vicki Monague and I'm a candidate for Council of Beausoleil First Nation. I'm running for council because I see a lot of strategic planning that needs to take place within the community. And I want to advocate more for inclusion of community members into the decision-making processes of the First Nation. Inclusion is important to me because it is a sound representation of accountability and transparency within the First Nation, and if we include community members in decision-making processes, it more reflects what the community wants, needs, and desires. So that's why I'm running for council. In terms of governance, I believe our governance structure could be further improved, giving more roles and responsibilities to the associated committees of the Beausoleil First Nation, giving them the power and authority to undertake tasks, especially needs assessments and comprehensive development of program plans, expansion of services, tons of stuff. But I think the committee structure is a representative body of the community, which is able to further analyze things within our programs and services and better understand them. That way, when recommendations go to council for approval, we have an council portfolio or ex officio that is well informed of situations and able to advocate on behalf of the committees within the actual council structure. Transportation is a big issue within the community. There seems to be a lack of transportation. Transportation needs to ultimately be improved. We need to really assess the fixed link option, as well as whether or not we're going to purchase a new ferry. It's my understanding right now that the ferry, if it was to go to dry dock, may not ever return again. So these are immediate solutions. A fixed link option for the community would be a long-term strategic goal that would need to have full community consultation and ratification, in my opinion. In terms of education, I believe post-secondary education needs to be further emphasized within the community, especially filling the gaps of professions that we need within the community, such as managers, administrators, directors, human resources, all of those different kinds of things, teachers, where we see high turnover rates. We need to address those turnover rates strategically and promote those careers to our fast-growing youth population. As well, we need to do a skill assessment of the current population and membership to understand and know who is skilled and trained in what, and how we could better utilize those skills and training to benefit the entire community. Economic development, like I said, I believe that, like I said earlier, I believe that we need to do a skill assessment on the current membership and take into consideration the long-term strategic goals of the community for economic development. I'm not a supporter of the development of Beckwith without community consultation. I believe that we as a collective membership need to fully look at options for Beckwith and ratify whether or not any development should take place and whether or not that development is going to be beneficial to the community, as well as long-term economic goals. Emphasizing small businesses, there is a high amount of money that is spent within Simcoe County alone on tourism, and I believe that's about don't quote me on this one, but I believe it's roughly about $4 million on tourism within this area of Georgian Bay. And I did research that, but I can't remember who to cite that source right now. But we could tap into that because we are a remote location, because we have these beautiful pristine islands, and we have our membership and basically our human resources, and our islands are the best part of our community and something that we could draw attraction to. Housing and infrastructure also, we need to be able to assess and understand what currently is within the community, and look at, developing things like a cultural center, the EMS Beausoleil Fire Station, which is going up, which is in addition to our assets. But also we need support on different things like road development, especially in terms of the roads that access our community from Tiny Township. I believe that we need to have strong partnerships with the off-reserve municipalities in order to further develop housing and other infrastructure that is going to benefit our community. The membership code, which I believe has not been pursued strategically yet, is something that needs to be done. We do need to, the membership needs to be able to have a say in how a membership code would be developed. It is a need and a priority within the community, and I believe it's at the power of the community to determine who is a member and who is not. In terms of justice and lawmaking, I have advocated within the last 4 months for community inclusion into the Anishinaabe Police Services renegotiation of their contracts. Because there is no current police committee in place, that alleviates community participation from the renegotiation of these contracts. In my opinion, being on the Emergency Services Committee, I am able to establish that we are currently understaffed in terms of policing. We need to increase those numbers in order to ensure the safety of police officers when responding to calls. Also, in terms of justice, I believe that we need to come up with alternative justice measures for our community, such as restorative justice and mediation, that would alleviate our members being incarcerated. In Canada right now, there is a high population of First Nations men and women who are in prisons, and the Conservative government is looking into building more prisons, and I think we need to be able to identify what the areas are where crime is happening, understand why crime is happening, and I believe crime in itself is symbolic of greater issues within the community that need to be looked at, such as healing, loss of identity, oppression, all of those things take into play into why our community is in the state that it's in, drug addiction. And it's not necessarily the fact that people who commit crimes are wrong, it's just the fact that we have not been able to address these issues yet, and I think that is a huge priority for the community. In terms of culture and language, we have a very, very diverse culture on Beausoleil First Nation. I myself was baptized in the Catholic Church, the United Church, and I'm going to be initiated Midewin next week. And we have a high population of individuals who are Catholic, who are practicing Protestants, who are traditional. And I really pride myself in the fact that we have always been able to, throughout my lifetime, maintain respect and honesty and openness to other people's views of life. And I think that's how we will continue to move forward as well, is to be able to support each other in everything that we do, because that spiritual component of our First Nation is very, very important to our own progression, as well as language. I remember always the words that Angus Toulouse, Ontario Regional Chief Angus Toulouse, had said to me, is that once we lose our culture and our language, we will thus be considered assimilated, and that the Canadian government will refuse to recognize our treaties, because though that culture and that language is the identity of who we are. So I'm a big advocate for learning our Anishinaabemowin, and I continue to try and strive to that. But I think we could also do that more strategically as well, in terms of possibly full immersion at Christian Island Elementary School, and more emphasis on that within the daycare system as well. And I have seen through Sagamok First Nation, who produces fluent speakers through their education system, through their elementary school, that these fluent speakers that they are producing are getting marks in the high 90s. Pretty much all of their students now, because they're bilingual, they speak both Ojibwe and English, they are getting phenomenal grades, and I think we could learn from Sagamok First Nation in that respect. In terms of health and respect, like I said, I think we need to look at, that takes me back to crime. The reason why it takes me back to crime is because we really need that understanding of what is happening within the community. In terms of health, I was a privy to the emergency medical services statistics, and that shows me right there that the amount of service calls tells me that there's a lot of health issues within the community. The crime stats tell me that, and even though there's a large proportion of crime that goes unrelated, tell me that we need to use these statistics and further be able to get the information to look at strategic long-term planning for a comprehensive community development plan. Any final thoughts? I think I'm excited. I'm excited by the opportunity to run for council again. This is my second time. There's a lot of work that needs to be done for the First Nation. And a lot of the work that can't be done alone. It cannot be done by council alone. We need the engagement and the involvement of the community members. And I understand that there's a proportion of community members who say, well, we're going to elect the leaders so that they could lead us and I can live. And there's also a proportion of community members who want to be informed and engaged. I believe access to information is something that we need to have, that needs to be a priority within the First Nation, because I've attempted to access information on certain funds, such as the OFNLP dollars, own source revenue. To date, I have not been given those audits, but I would like to understand our budgets and how they work, and also how many community members that those budgets are benefiting. So who specifically are these benefiting, and is there any cost efficiency in terms of the First Nation spending? Anyways, with that, vote for me on June 23rd, and thank you for this opportunity.